Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we celebrate our 2020 Top Women in Finance. I'm Bill Geyer, the publisher of Finance and Commerce, and I'll be your host for this virtual awards event. With me today are Sarah Osman, Twin Cities Regional President with Alaris, and Joel Shetler, Editor of Finance and Commerce. We're excited to welcome you to the 2020 Top Women in Finance Awards. For 20 years, this award has honored women who excel in the world of finance. Tonight, we are honoring 20 top women in finance. The cumulative impact of what these honorees have accomplished is staggering. You'll hear each of their stories during the awards presentation. I believe you will be as impressed as the selection committee was. This past year has been very challenging, and I hope that you and your loved ones are healthy and safe. It is truly an honor for me to welcome you here tonight as we celebrate the accomplishments of tonight's honorees. While this is not exactly the celebration we had hoped for, now more than ever, it's important to recognize the impressive work that's being done by women in the financial sector at companies and organizations throughout Minnesota. Since we're not gathering in person, your participation is even more important. In the past, there was plenty of cheering as honorees ascended the stage to receive their awards. Honorees, if you would like to stand when we announce your name, that's great. But audience members, let's make sure to let these honorees know that you appreciate their achievements and dedication by posting comments in the chat on the right side of your screen. If you post messages to social media, use the hashtag TWIF2020. That's hashtag TWIF, T-W-I-F, 2020. So we can pick them up and share them. The participation of our sponsors underscores their support of the women we honor here tonight. We begin with the event sponsor, Alaris. This is their second year as presenting sponsor for Top Women in Finance. We appreciate their partnership and look forward to many years working together. Honorees, I hope you're enjoying the gifts of wine and chocolate that Alaris provided in the gift bags you received earlier. Now here's a short message from Alaris. Great message. Thank you, Alaris, for being our event sponsor this evening. We would also like to thank our silver sponsor and photo shoot host, the American Swedish Institute. If you haven't been here, it's a beautiful venue. You get a little view in the video background and in the photos you'll see in the Top Women in Finance magazine. Our virtual watch party sponsors for this event are Mid-Country Bank, Baker Tilly, Children's Minnesota, and Village Bank. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. With the help of our honorees, we will bring their achievements to life through unique storytelling and video. Throughout the evening, you'll see and hear in their own words what inspires them and how 2020 has influenced their work and their lives. You'll also see shout-out videos offering congratulations from their companies and coworkers. And now, I would like to invite Sarah Osman, Twin Cities Regional President with Alaris, to say a few words.
Hello, I'm Sarah Osman, Twin Cities Regional President at Alaris. On behalf of everyone at Alaris, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 Top Women in Finance Awards. Thank you to Finance and Commerce for shining a light on these inspiring women. We are proud to help recognize their incredible achievements and professional dedication. At Alaris, our mission is to help clients achieve their financial goals wherever they are in life's journey. We understand that no two journeys are alike. Tonight's honorees have each traveled their unique own path to success, often forging the way for others to follow. While we can't be together in person, I'm so glad we could come together virtually to recognize your hard work, achievements, and leadership. Again, congratulations to this year's honorees. I would like to now introduce Joel Shetler, Editor of Finance and Commerce, to share with you how tonight's honorees were selected and kick off the program.
Tonight's honorees took a variety of paths to make it to the top of their fields. What traits do they all share? They are smart, determined, and persistent. They care about their customers, employees, coworkers, and their communities. And they model success for the women following in their footsteps. The nominations we received highlighted work as varied as the financial professionals doing it. Each of these women was nominated by their peers, coworkers, or customers. To help choose this year's class of honorees, we relied on the members of a special selection committee of those in the financial community who share the mission we recognize today. Their help in the process was and is immeasurable. We sincerely and humbly thank each for their commitment to this effort, and since many on that committee are previous honorees, they are a bit selective. I'd like to thank the committee along with everyone who submitted nominations. This year, there are 5 Circle of Excellence honorees. To receive the Circle of Excellence status, you have to earn the honor twice. Selected for the Circle of Excellence this year are Mary Jane Crocker of Bridgewater Bank, Jackie Herman, Flagship Bank, Minnesota, Jackie Knight, the Ackerberg Group, Brenda McCormick, Children's Minnesota, Lynette Slater-Crandall, P3 Legal and Strategy Advisors, LLC. We congratulate these Circle of Excellence honorees and all of the women being honored here this evening. It is now time to meet the Finance and Commerce selections for the 2020 Top Women in Finance Awards. Remember, keep socially interactive with us by posting comments to #TWIF2020 and post your messages of congratulations in the chat box to the right of your screen. And now, let's meet our first group of honorees. We'll start with the Circle of Excellence honorees.
Mary Jane Crocker. Mary Jane Crocker was a relative novice when she was first named a top woman in finance. That goes to show how much she accomplished in a short time. Since then, her portfolio has only grown. In 2018, she helped to lead Bridgewater Bank's IPO, something she calls an incredible learning experience. At the bank, Mary Jane continues to participate in growth initiatives that set Bridgewater apart as one of the top entrepreneurial banks in the Twin Cities market. Finance and Commerce is proud to welcome Mary Jane Crocker to the Top Women in Finance Circle of Excellence.
I think the biggest change in my leadership style through this is probably learned to be more empathetic. I think I've realized that people are all coming from completely different experiences and completely different perspectives, and it's affecting people in different ways. And so knowing that people really want to do the work that they're assigned to do, but may not be able to do it the same way that they could before. And so just being a lot more flexible, a lot more empathetic, and realizing that people need grace during this time. I had 2 role models. I was a competitive tennis player, so Chris Evert was a role model of mine. And I always liked the way that she was a fierce competitor, but she was also graceful, that she entered the court with poise and continued to exhibit femininity despite the fact that she was a fierce competitor. So I think I learned a lot by watching her play. My other role model was my Nana. She had 8 kids, 36 grandkids, and then another, I don't even know how many great-grandkids. And she never showed any kind of exhaustion. She always aged with the time, kept up to date, and was never judgmental. And I always admired the way that she came to us each individually as individual people. I'd say believe in yourself. If you're in a position, somebody put you in that position and they believe that you had the skills, the talent, and the energy to be successful, and if they believe in you, then you should believe in yourself as well.
Congrats, Mary Jane. It's a privilege to work with you, and everyone at Bridgewater Bank applauds your accomplishment.
Congratulations, Mary Jane, on this well-deserved recognition. You're an awesome leader and mentor, and we're lucky to have you at Bridgewater Bank.
Congratulations, Mary Jane. Truly well-deserved.
Congrats, Mary Jane, on this very deserving award. There's many things I admire about you, including your passion, your positivity, and certainly your leadership. Thank you for everything that you do at Bridgewater.
Jackie Herman. Jackie Herman was once told that she and she alone was responsible for her career. She's continued to live up to that motto. Since she last received this honor, Jackie Herman has continued to ascend. She's now COO of Flagship Bank, where she leads finance, technology, audit and compliance, risk management, and other functions. Her leadership has helped the bank achieve a major turnaround into a financially sound, growth-oriented organization. Among other achievements, Jackie orchestrated 2 successful bank acquisitions for Flagship. Finance and Commerce is pleased to welcome Jackie Herman to the Top Women in Finance Circle of Excellence.
My leadership style has actually been quite changed over the years, depending on the economy, corporate strategy, and the existing expertise on staff. In the times of crisis, I've learned the power of emotional intelligence. And now I ask myself when I make decisions, how does this impact our team? I'm still growing up. Through the years, it's been my teachers. I thought, these are amazing. I want to learn everything they know. There's been athletes, their work ethic is incredible. I want to be like them. I was hired in the finance industry by a woman who was a woman-owned organization. And throughout the years, I've learned to admire all of these individuals growing up. But my most admired one is right at home. It's somebody who is from my heart, and I aspire to have the adventurous spirit and loving family values and support that my mother has. She's taught me the importance of living life to the fullest, experiencing new things, and my mother is a rock star. I'm very competitive and I love a challenge. So when something's brought to you, bring it on, take it on, ask the questions, be involved, do it, and do it well.
Jackie Knight. Someone once told Jackie Knight that the road to success in real estate was to take up golf because that's where all the deals get done. That advice didn't set well with her. In her role as COO of Ackerberg, Jackie has expanded her portfolio into such areas as risk management, regulatory compliance, and public-private partnerships. She also helped the company launch a second investment fund and earned her CCIM designation. And she still makes deals without setting foot on a golf course. Finance and Commerce is happy to welcome Jackie Knight to the Top Women in Finance Circle of Excellence.
My leadership style has changed this past year due to the pandemic and then the civil uprising, in that I think I'm a lot more aware of who I am and the failures I've had as a leader. There's so much more opportunity for me to understand who my team members are on a deep and personal level to help support them, as well as just our larger community to understand what is the wake that I'm leaving as a part of my role. My role model was my great aunt Lorraine. She worked for the Treasury Department for the state of Wisconsin, and she was the only woman in my family who worked outside of the home. So she was really the first person that helped me understand what my possibilities could be. My advice for mentees or women that are coming up in this field is really just do what you want to do. No matter what you do, you'll make some bad choices, and so if it feels good to you, just sort of follow your own passions in your heart.
Brenda McCormick. Brenda McCormick left behind a 30-year career working for multinational corporations to work for Children's Minnesota. The organization champions the health needs of children and families by providing the highest quality, family-centered care advanced through research and education. As CFO there, she works with other leaders to develop long-term strategic brands. That means meeting community health needs while ensuring the group's financial sustainability. She and her finance team do planning and analysis, accounting and controllership, treasury and investments, strategic payer contracting, and a variety of other tasks. Finance and Commerce is proud to welcome Brenda McCormick to the Top Women in Finance Circle of Excellence.
Well, this spring brought 2 profound world-changing events. And I would say the thing that reminded me as we've been going through those 2 events is how important it is for leaders to adapt their leadership style to the circumstances. So for me, I really picked up a much more directive style and then played to some of my strengths as a pragmatic leader. As a leadership team, we really made decisions quickly and I would say even bold decisions to ensure the stability of the hospital system throughout the pandemic. And then we always kept front and center the human side of it, so led with compassion and grace through all of this and amplified our communication as well as transparency. Hands down, my role model was my mom. I'm an only child, so I spent a lot of time with my mom as I grew up. She actually left her job as an executive assistant at a large advertising agency when I was born, so she devoted all her time to me. And she was kind and generous. She was beautiful inside and out, and she was just so creative in all the activities that she would put together for us. And she was the best sounding board, my cheerleader, and I had the best advice. And she passed away back in 1991, so I miss her dearly, but I know that she'd be proud today. And I wanted to share just one story of some creative game that she put together. It was called Grocery Store, and when I was little, the first recollection I have is when I was 4, she would take me to the grocery and we'd buy just these little individualized products, you know, like a small thing of tomato paste or tuna. And then I would get to go home and create my own grocery store in the basement and do all the signage and point of sale, price all the products, and then she would come down and buy things from me at my grocery store, use real money, which I thought was super cool, and then she'd use that in our dinner that night. And the reason I wanted to share that story is I don't know if she saw an inkling in me early on at that young age or not, but I spent the first 15 years of my career working in consumer foods, and I just love that industry.
Brenda, congratulations. Congratulations on entering the Circle of Excellence with your second recognition among Finance and Commerce's top women in finance. Your leadership and innovation have been really vital in helping Children's Minnesota navigate through the uncharted waters of the COVID-19 pandemic. So on behalf of the entire organization, I want to thank you for all that you do to advance our mission to champion the health needs of kids in this community. It's an honor to have you on the team, and congratulations again on this well-deserved recognition.
Lynette Crandall. Since she was first recognized as a top woman in finance 7 years ago, Lynette Crandall has continued to grow in her career. Lynette works on some of the most complex public and private project financings in the state. She helped the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority to finance U.S. Bank Stadium. She also helped 7 counties in the metro area put together a unique new sales tax structure that has financed major transit infrastructure improvements across the region. Finance and Commerce is happy to welcome Lynette Crandall to the Top Women in Finance Circle of Excellence.
Ask questions and talk to everybody that you can. There are so many unique and interesting professions in finance, from being the CFO to a company to positions in the law to real estate finance. The opportunities are just endless, and I don't think they're all obvious. And so I would recommend reaching out to as many people as you can to understand what great opportunities there are out there. You know, I can think of so many, from parents and family to teachers, but really who I looked up to generally were political leaders, politicians. It intrigued me from a very young age, people who were willing to put themselves out there and have difficult public policy debates and do it all for the greater good. You know, I think it's taught me to be more present, is the term that comes to mind. It's not as easy to connect via video, so the Zoom conferences, I don't think completely make up for that face-to-face interaction that you have with coworkers and colleagues. And so I think you have to be more deliberate in being present for them, their needs, making yourself available for phone calls 24/7. It's just a really different environment in which to work. And I think the same with the civil unrest, the important social issues that we're all grappling here, right in our own community. I think you need to be more present. I think we're realizing that it's not enough to say that we're not part of the problem or to be aware. I think we have to be present and part of the solution.
Michelle Anderson. Like many bankers, Michelle Anderson started as a teller, but Michelle has climbed the ladder higher than most. At Village Bank, she's Senior Vice President of Credit Administration at Village Bank, which means she oversees all loan-related matters. Michelle also works with a number of area nonprofits to make sure that their finances are in order. And now, as a banking veteran, she's in a prime position to mentor her business's next generation. Finance and Commerce is happy to recognize Michelle Anderson as a top woman in finance.
With the importance of technology and how quickly we need to react to everything when the COVID-19 hit, it really made me become very resilient and realizing that it's so important to keep in touch with people, whether it be through technology or face-to-face. We learned a whole new communication style in these last few months. My role model growing up was truly my dad. My superhero was Wonder Woman, but my dad is who instilled the work ethics into me. He was a hard worker of meager means, and he just he did whatever he could to make ends meet for his family. So, stay very open-minded. Things change fast. There's always more than one way to look at things, and you always need to reach out for other expertise and respect other people's opinions, and always trust your gut.
Lisa M. Ashley. All it took was a class in real property law to give Lisa Ashley a preview of her career. She first worked as a litigator before moving over to the transactional side. Now, at Ballard, she works with lending institutions, developers, and landowners. One of her recent transactions involved working with a community bank on a multi-million-dollar loan involving nearly a dozen borrowers and properties. What's more, Lisa is an in-demand writer and presenter on topics around real estate and finance law. Finance and Commerce is pleased to name Lisa Ashley as a top woman in finance.
I think that overall it really has just reminded me that you have to really be reaching out to people on a consistent basis to make sure that everyone is still engaged, including myself. It's my mother. She was a very successful businesswoman well into the 80s, and then decided to stay home and raise my brother and I while my dad continued to work. So I've leaned on her for many, many different business questions and decisions over the years, and I truly appreciate her to this day. Have not just good mentors, but have a sponsor. They're two very different things, and in the long run, the sponsors are the ones that are going to be there to help promote you as you move forward in your career. Another savvy piece of advice that I've always lived by during my career is set boundaries, whether that's personally or professionally, and that makes sure that you get the job done, clients are satisfied, and you are as well at the end of the day. Thanks everyone, and I appreciate the award.
Young Bibas. Young Bibas moved to the U.S. at 22 and thanks to her family brought a strong flair for entrepreneurialism. After earning an MBA, she spent years working in the assisted living business before making a big move, opening her own brokerage business. The opportunity she saw was to carve out a niche with businesses that might be too small to appeal to most investment bankers. In her spare time, Young is a certified SCORE mentor. She mentors business owners in topics such as identifying value drivers of a business. Finance and Commerce is proud to recognize Young Bibas as a top woman in finance.
Listening never stops. There's never enough listening to do because everybody has different stories. So through the tough time and challenging time, everybody brings their own different background and perspectives based on their personal stories and experience in life and upbringing and everything. I myself, coming from South Korea and as an immigrant, and being here since 1997. I realized how much I had to listen to, basically to learn English after I finished my college even. But also the listening of the person and the stories really shaped who I have become. And I can then bring the trust and team together to really say, okay, in the times of challenge, do we curse at it or do we light the path that we can move forward with? So that has been I think that's a practice and challenge of leadership that we encounter every day, but has brought more clarity to how important that is and how decisive we need to become. What really matters to, I think in everybody, in every business, is really be true to yourself. It was important for me that I knew what I wanted to do and that I am true to myself and I know what my strengths are and weaknesses are. So knowing myself and knowing yourself, I think, is an important aspect in no matter what aspect of life. And be always humble. And for me, being humble and being okay, learning new things has always opened up a different sort of doors for me. And I don't think we ever stop learning. Growing up in South Korea, my mother had this, she taught me the work ethics and grits and ability to pivot based on what life throws at you. And she's always been the sort of being able to provide for the family, working hard, from running restaurants, farm, and clothing store, and she had to make changes, depends on what's going on in the economy and the family and things like that. So she's been a great role model for me, even to these days that she shows me that she can pivot at the age of 60 years old. So she shows me courage, and that's something that I look up to every day.
Hi, how are you? And welcome to Be Our Business Brokers. My name is Don Kaiser, and we are here to honor Young Bibas, our CEO, our friend, our colleague, and the Woman of the Year for Finance and Commerce.
I'm Ellie Rogers, and I'm so proud to be able to sit alongside Young Bibas.
And I'm Brandon Garcia, and it's a pleasure to be here with Young and celebrating this special moment of hers.
My name is Young Bibas, and I'm grateful and so thankful to have our friends and colleagues and people that I trust and work with. So thank you for the opportunity and for having a great faith in me. And yeah.
Well, it's very well deserved.
Thank
You're
you.
a pleasure to work with.
Congratulations, Young.
April Bortscheller. Serving in the Army National Guard gave April Bortscheller the confidence and drive to start a career in finance from the ground up. As financial advisor and VP of operations, she runs the day-to-day operations of Berger Financial Group, which includes creating corporate policy and streamlining operations in Berger's 3 offices. At Berger, April began a program to give ownership of the firm to all fellow employees, an unusual stance to take in the finance industry. That ESOP has turned into an advantage as the company looks for new talent and firm growth. Finance and Commerce is happy to honor April Bortscheller as a top woman in finance.
2020 has been an unprecedented year for sure. We've had to make decisions quicker than we ever had to before. We, as a firm, never thought working remotely would work for us. And so having to do that and seeing how our staff is excelling has been really, really impressive. We've making sure that your team is engaged and feeling supportive. Half of them feel energized by the freedoms that you get to work remotely. And there are some that are really, really struggling during this time. So giving them a voice and outlet to be heard has been instrumental in keeping the cohesive team together. I thought a lot about who my role model was. There's so many amazing women, and still is, but so many amazing women that have broken barriers for women in this industry and just in general. But when I think of those people, they're inspiring to me, but a role model I think of as somebody who you can see interact with people and gain trust and support. And for me, that person was my grandmother. She passed away last year, and I did the eulogy, and in doing that, it was very awe-inspiring to me to see not only did she do that for me, but many other people. She was able to get a band of supporters just by listening to people. It didn't matter who it was, her best friend, the person on a bus on her way to work, just listening and making you feel like you were important and special just made these people respect and support her and wanted her to succeed in life. And that's the type of person that I want to be. I would definitely say ask questions. Don't be intimidated. Coming into the industry, you might not know what it is that you want to do. I've touched almost all aspects of our industry, and I ended up being in a position not where I thought I would be, but I found a passion by asking questions and learning the processes. And I think if you find that passion, that's going to drive you for success in the future.
Lisa Franksman. As Lisa Franksman climbed the ranks in the car business to become a finance manager, her vocational future became more clear. She joined Anchor Bank as a credit analyst more than 20 years ago. After a spell at Merchants Bank's Rosemount branch, Lisa joined Mid-Country Bank's Hastings branch as market president. It's a good fit. Hastings is one of Mid-Country's growth markets. The bank wanted Lisa to lead it because of her deep background in community banking. Finance and Commerce is happy to honor Lisa Franksman as a top woman in finance.
First would be to find your passion. I believe if you're passionate about what you do, you will automatically be successful. And second would be not to be discouraged. I think women have a tendency to take things personally, and you're going to have days that aren't so great. And those days you need to find your mentor or a good friend, get that mental boost that you need, start the next day, and everything's going to be just fine. When I was growing up, my mom was such a hard worker. She had multiple jobs. She worked her way up as a successful controller at a car dealership. I learned my work ethic from her, and I think I wouldn't be where I am today without her. Naturally, I am a compassionate and empathetic leader. However, 2020 has definitely enhanced that. I find myself constantly asking, if I'm on the other side of that desk, how would I want to be treated? For example, I have an employee that needs some extra flexibility because she has young children that need to be homeschooled right now. So I just have to roll with it, and I think that will make us stronger leaders in the end.
When I think of a community champion, a few words and phrases come to mind. Selflessness, servant leadership, and advocate for change and mentorship. It's no wonder why Lisa was selected as a 2020 Top Woman in Finance honoree.
Lisa has made an immediate impact on our organization by her strong desire to mentor other team members.
Lisa Franksman has been a true leader, advocate, and I can't imagine getting through this without her.
Congratulations, Lisa, on winning Top Women in Finance.
Danica Goshert. As Vice President and Private Wealth Manager at Integrated Equity Management, Danica Goshert realizes that there's a lot more to her job than just dollars and cents. A human touch is also necessary to get the right results. Danica works with a lot of clients who are going through a major life transition, such as retirement or divorce. Her clients get the benefit of her 2 decades in the financial services industry. Even as Integrated was shifting its business model, Danica's team has thrived. Finance and Commerce is proud to recognize Danica Goshert as a top woman in finance.
If you think back to the early time in March, I went from working at home with a day's notice, and I was meeting with clients during a pretty significant period of market volatility, and sometimes they were in their pajamas. And at that point, you can really only be with people where they are. And if you think about the grief that we're going through collectively, anyone who's lost a person, the loved one, knows what this feels like. And it's my hope, especially in light of the civil unrest and the understanding that there is a large segment of the population that feels like they can't bring their whole selves with them wherever they go. It is my hope that we will start to acknowledge and understand that people should be able to bring their entire selves with them, and that we should also relate to each other authentically. And I think it takes a certain amount of courage and bravery to be the person that does that first, to say to the client, I don't know what's going to go on here right now, but I do know that you're going to be okay, and I'm also concerned. So my hope and intent is that I will model authenticity, and that I will also cultivate and encourage diversity in thought, in experience, because I think when we do that, we are all better collectively as a result. Part of what you do in your job is the work you do, but part of it is also the relationships you build. And a lot of times, women in particular, I think, we tell ourselves that if we put our head down and we just work, that somehow it will all take care of itself. But it's important, to take maybe 5 to 10% of your time and cultivate relationships with people around you. That said, you can also end up with a lot of advice, and at a certain point, you have to weigh the advice that people give you with your own gut, your spidey sense, let's say, so that you really know, what it is that you want in terms of both your short-term and your long-term success.
Mara Humphrey. Mara Humphrey is not part of the famous Minnesota political family, but she does know how things work at the Capitol. Working in government relations for the Minnesota Credit Union Network, Mara has helped the organization make great strides. For one thing, she led the efforts in Minnesota to create first-in-the-nation legislation that recovered costs for financial institutions impacted by data breaches. She realizes that the main part of a lobbyist's job is to educate, a lesson that Mara applies every day. Finance and Commerce is proud to recognize Mara Humphrey as a top woman in finance.
2020 has been a key year for leadership. It's been more important than it's ever been. Really looking at how do we lead through this crisis? How do we keep our employees engaged and involved? I've really stuck with the mantra of focus on what you can control and impact. And as we've been going through and changing up our strategic plan, really looking at how can we have an impact moving forward. I think one of the key things that we found is really looking at engaging employees, getting their feedback, engaging them. One of the fun things we did is we included them, putting together our strategic planning session for our staff that'll really drive our strategic plan as we go forward into 2021, and really utilizing their talents, their expertise, and making sure that they're included. I'd really encourage mentees and any woman coming up into the finance world to look and make connections. This is a world and industry where it is so important to have those connections. Your own cheering squad, the folks who can point you in the right direction and give you advice. A couple things I'm really proud of that I've done is help create the Women's Leadership Network for Minnesota credit unions as an opportunity for women to network and engage. Another thing that we did is put together a mentorship program to help connect mentors and mentees within the industry. And I think it's really critical to have those folks that you can bounce ideas off of, learn, get career advice. As well as I would encourage women to not be shy and raise your hand at opportunities. Don't let them pass you by, and get out of your comfort zone and take advantage of those opportunities. I would have to say my mom was my role model growing up. She was a single mom raising 3 kids. She really taught me that you can have both a career and be successful raising kids. She worked on and off and ended up being the co-publisher of the Minnesota Women's Press. And I was often very inspired by the women who work there. I think they really focused on teaching about women and getting women's words out into the world and promoting them. And while I have a very different job title, job description, job goals, I think I really look to that purpose and passion that really drives what I do now.
Megan Kapp. To those not in the know, CPAs are just number crunchers. Megan Kapp works to dispel that image. She joined Olson Thielen as an audit associate after graduating from Gustavus Adolphus College in 2008. She rapidly advanced within the firm, earning a promotion to principal 2 years ago. She spends a lot of time with people in the benefits industry, internal advisors, financial advisors, and ERISA attorneys. Partly as a result of Megan's efforts, Olson Thielen's benefit practice has almost doubled in scope. Finance and Commerce is pleased to honor Megan Kapp as a top woman in finance.
2020 has taught me a lot of what it means to be a leader. It has taught me to approach situations with a greater amount of openness and empathy and patience. Our employees and our community are navigating a lot right now. We're going through very difficult, challenging times, and individuals are being stretched both personally and professionally. And as a leader, it's my role to help create that space to allow employees that work-life flexibility, to open those conversations around diversity within our organization. Growing up, I moved quite a bit, quite often. And I know on the surface that could look like as a negative. However, I found that to provide a lot of positive for me. I was able to interact with a lot of different individuals who helped shape who I am today. But really, who really had the greatest influence in my life was my mom and my grandmas. And they encouraged me to work hard every day and be that supportive role model for me to kind of really bring me to my fullest potential. The advice I would give to women and mentees is don't be afraid to take risks. Lean into those stretch opportunities. As women, I think at times we tend to not take on those engagements unless we're fully 100% confident in our abilities to execute those engagements. But really when we move past our comfort zone is really when we tap into our fullest potential.
Laura Kuntz. As a farm girl with 8 siblings, Laura Kuntz understands hard work. And it was hard work that allowed her to found Laurel Wealth Planning and get it up and running. Laurel Wealth has more than 100 clients, with women making all the financial decisions in half of those households. As Laura puts it, having her own firm lets her live life on her own terms. Finance and Commerce is proud to honor Laura Kuntz as a top woman in finance.
It's changed a lot. I went paperless in about 3 days, and I never thought I would go paperless, and now I would never go back. In addition, we have more team members working remotely, and that is working, but we're learning a lot from it. We'll always have an office presence because our clients expect that, but there are a number of elements that go into effective remote work, and we're learning a lot about those, and we'll implement more remote work down the line post-pandemic. In terms of the civil unrest, it made me really think about the composition of our team and whether we're doing enough to promote diversity, and we're taking steps in that direction as well. My role model was definitely my mom. She had 9 kids, farm wife, worked 8 hours a day on the farm all the rest of the time, baking and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids. Very, very hardworking woman. Always told me I was smart, always told me that I was going to go to college, always gave me examples of women who had diverted their skills to the home and really should have been out, as she said, making a difference in the world. So she definitely is my role model. Yeah. Don't be afraid to use your gifts. If your gifts are a little bit not the typical genderized stereotype, use them anyway. Use your gifts. And if you're a little good at numbers or financial concepts, strongly consider accounting or finance or something that gives you a chance to use those gifts. And of course, I love wealth management because it combines the technical with the people, and that's awfully fulfilling.
Shireen Luz. When she was first approached about being RBC's head of HR, Shireen Luz's answer was concise. Hell no. She said that to the president of the company, by the way. But after a while, she was encouraged to find a role in a company that might better suit her skill set. A former employment lawyer, Shireen first joined RBC to be an associate general counsel. It turns out her boss was right that she belonged in HR. Among her innovative ideas was caregiver leave for employees short on PTO time needed to look after family members. Finance and Commerce is happy to name Shireen Luz as a top woman in finance.
I would say I've had to get more comfortable with the uncomfortable. Being in HR, we always have to have uncomfortable conversations, but this year it's just ratcheted up to a whole different level, whether it's talking about people's individual well-being, how divisive the country has become over masks, keeping branches open, who comes into work, who doesn't, but also then with the social unrest, having the courage to have the conversations about systemic racism, about what can we do differently in our workplace, and how we can influence our communities. It's been a palooza of HR topics all melded into one year. And it's been really challenging, but it's also been it's given us a lot of opportunities to really focus on people. My role model was my mom. She was diagnosed shortly after I was born with a very severe form of cardiomyopathy. And within pretty short order, she was limited in what she was able to do, whether it was walking very far or going up and down stairs, and ultimately she ended up passing away at 54, but she was this great athlete and wasn't able to do any of that. And I remember interviewing her in college for someone that I admired, and I asked her how it felt to be diagnosed with such a serious illness, one for which there was no cure. And she said, I consider it a blessing because it makes each day I wake up that much more special. And that's kind of how she lived her life, always with a smile on her face, no matter what she was faced with, no matter the challenges. And that kind of role model has helped me do the job I do, but also get through a year like this year. Only say to yourself what you would say to someone else. If you wouldn't say out loud to another human being what you say inside your own head, then you shouldn't be thinking it. That believe in yourself and to keep pushing and to have the confidence to try for things that you may not have thought that you could do. There's not often a lot of female role models to look up to out there, so be the first. Or be the second if you're lucky enough to have someone precede you. But again, be as kind to yourself as you are to others, and you'll start believing it, hopefully, and others will see it.
Why Elaine Rasmussen? To Elaine Rasmussen, wealth and justice should be partners. At Social Impact Strategies Group, she works with philanthropists, social investors, entrepreneurs, and other organizations to help them find investment opportunities and revenue streams that have genuine social impact. As a Black woman, Elaine didn't have a lot of role models in finance, so she became determined to use her own intelligence to separate the good advice from the bad. That education process is what spurred her to start Social Impact 5 years ago. Finance and Commerce is proud to honor Y. Elaine Rasmussen as a top woman in finance.
I don't think that my leadership style has actually changed other than the fact of really checking in on my staff and checking in on people before we get into any sort of consulting work, because people are feeling very fragile. But that's one of our values, our core values of our organization is 360-degree compassionate accountability and respecting where people are. So for us, it's how we normally do everything in the work that we do. So I am a child of the 70s and the 80s, like many of my colleagues, and there weren't a lot of Black faces on television. So growing up, really one of my biggest idols, oddly enough, is Elizabeth Taylor. I just thought that she always delivered lines really, really intently and meant what she said, whether she was on camera or off camera. I think some of my other idols growing up, Diana Ross was another big idol of mine growing up. She just seemed like to have a big personality that was very similar to my grandmother. And then finally, my grandmother is probably my biggest hero. She was all of 5 feet tall and a big firecracker, and that was 5 feet tall on a good day. I think she thought she was 5'2", but she was really about 4'9", 4'11", and but she never let her size get in the way. She never let the fact that she was a Black woman hamper any of her opportunities that were put in front of her. And so I've always looked to that as my North Star as far as making sure that I belong and that I identify where there's a place for me wherever I am. I think in this current moment in the finance field that racism and sexism still exist. However, everything else is movable. So if you come into your work knowing that all the rest of it is movable, for me, it makes it a lot more easy to deal with some of the sexism and racism that still happens in finance. I think things are changing, but we have a long way to go. And I want people to remember, especially young women of color, that everything is a negotiation and that you have power at the table when you're at the table. So definitely make space for yourself at the table, because sometimes you're not always invited in. Make sure that you know what you want and have a firm ask when you're at the table, and then hold everybody accountable to make sure that that gets done.
Amber Shimpa. As Chief Administrative Officer at Vireo Health's Minneapolis office, Amber Shimpa wears lots of hats. In her main role, she leads the integration of people and culture. That means the company's HR, communications, policy, and security departments report to her. In her previous role as CFO, Amber has raised and deployed more than $100 million of capital. She also oversaw the company's IPO last year, which helped fund growth in 6 states besides Minnesota. Finance and Commerce is happy to honor Amber Shimpa as a top woman in finance.
If I could sum it up, it's about action. It's about equity action and ensuring that people, disadvantaged people, disenfranchised people have the same access to health equity and social and racial equity that we all deserve. And I started in March. I formed a COVID response team to address health equity among our team and our patients at Vireo, and started a DEI council in June where we kicked it off with a town hall. And then have since focused efforts around, getting the team out in our communities, and just being a good community partner. Both my parents were role models to me in different ways. My mom really raised us at home and held us accountable. I think accountability was a big thing. Household chores, farm chores, schoolwork. And she did that in a way that was stern, but also with kind of compassion and empathy and love that really kind of lends to my leadership style today. And then my dad is a small business owner up in northwestern Minnesota. And I really had a frontline seat to ups and downs of running, your own business. And what he demonstrated for me was, kind of the grit that you earn from how you deal with the challenges. Surrounding yourself not just with people that can support you, but that can also challenge you. You don't want just someone who is your cheerleader, someone who is a yes person to you and always agreeing. I think if you find someone that can challenge you and pull out of you what you need to succeed, I think that's something that I would look for and advise someone on.
Amy Smart. In her 14 years at Merrill Lynch, Amy Smart has climbed the ranks from financial advisor to her current position of market executive. She oversees employees in 5 offices across central Minnesota as well as western Wisconsin. That means overall strategy, advisor growth, market culture, and diversity and inclusion, not to mention all hiring and training, including recruiting, advisor trainees, and a summer intern program. And now it means implementing and enforcing plans to keep people productive while also keeping them safe. Finance and Commerce is pleased to recognize Amy Smart as a top woman in finance.
We're a very unique field. We're very client-facing. We are out in front of the public, whether it be at events or in seminars or whatnot. And to not be able to do that has been very difficult, both in servicing our clients and growing our business. And so we've taken a very conservative approach with our employees about keeping them safe. And so that's a little bit of a dichotomy, right? How do you grow a business while also keeping your employees safe? And so, my leadership has been affected in that, being really consistent, lots of communication and contact with employees, bringing the information that they need to protect them, their business, and their families. Also, in just keeping them really inspired about what it is that we do every day, because we touch so many families and so many lives that if we kind of get flat and we're not bringing our full self to that job every day, our clients suffer. So keeping the passion in the job as well as keeping people safe, feeling secure in their job and their future, it's an interesting time, but kind of just being the steady in the storm has been my role. So role model, I was really fortunate to have a lot of very strong role models, very specifically women role models. And the one that came to mind specifically when I was thinking about the question was my next door neighbor. Her name was Viola, but I called her Nana. And I never really knew her age because she just wouldn't tell anybody. But she was a retired school teacher, the mother of 3, and a widow of a police officer. And she believed that you can accomplish anything, that there were no limitations. And if you said, well, I can't, the question was, why? And so everybody was welcome at her home. There was never conflict, and she just made a safe space for people to explore who they were and fundamentally just be a strong woman that went out into the world and did what they wanted to do. And so I owe her a lot of gratitude. She lived a very long life till 99 and was an inspiration for many. I think a lot of times women are told that they can't or that that's not the field for them. And I beg to differ. I think this is the best field for women. There's a lot of flexibility in schedule. There's a lot of flexibility in where you live, so you can really accommodate a growing family or whatever it is that you choose to do. It's just such a wonderful career that so many people don't really give consideration. We have STEM, which helps young women learn about a lot of different fields. I wish they'd add the F in there around finance, because I think women bring a very unique point of view. And in most couples that you're dealing with, there's probably a woman sitting at the table. And understanding the way she thinks and understanding what she wants to accomplish for her family is more likely, that bridge is more likely if there's another woman sitting at the table. And so it's very important that we have more women at the table with our clients, as well as educating our future clients and prospects, but educating our community about how to be strong, with your money and have that independence and have that safety and security for your family.
Karin Taylor. Karin Taylor's dad was a banker. Guess what he wanted her to do? Like many of our honorees, Karin began as a teller. Now, as Alerus's Chief Risk Officer and Executive Vice President, Karin oversees enterprise risk management, regulatory compliance, legal, internal audit, and compliance activities. She was also a key part of the company's IPO last year. At present, Karin's plate is full with risk monitoring, which is natural during a time of so much uncertainty. Finance and Commerce is happy to name Karin Taylor as a top woman in finance.
Well, the events of 2020 have been much more far-reaching than some of the other crisis situations I've dealt with in my career. Certainly there are business impacts, but this affects our employees significantly, both at work and outside of work. We're learning new ways as a remote workforce to support each other and support our clients. And there's a huge range of emotion for people. Certainly a tremendous amount of uncertainty. Some people may feel isolated, some may feel fear. And we know that many of our employees are dealing with juggling work as well as childcare and distance learning. And so in terms of how that's changed my leadership style, really it's forced me to think much more holistically about our response. So while we're navigating the business challenges and looking for the opportunities that will hopefully come from 2020, I'm really thinking about the impact of our decisions on our employees, our clients, and our communities. I would have to say my parents, honestly. They modeled so many things for me that are so important. Work ethic, commitment, kindness, and balance. Even though they both worked, there was always time for us to spend as a family. Seek out and accept any new opportunity or experience you're given. I think that the times that I learned most in my life, both professionally and personally, was when I was pushed sort of outside of my comfort zone.
Karin, congratulations on this well-deserved honor as a top woman in finance. You are such an asset to the Alerus team. Your calm demeanor, your willingness to listen, and then make the best decision have shown brightly, especially this year, as you have led our response to the pandemic. I know I speak for all of your Alerus colleagues when I say that we appreciate your leadership and your constant focus on all stakeholders. We are very proud of you at Alerus. Thank you for showing up every day and making a positive impact. Thank you for leading by example, and thank you for being a great leader. I can think of no one more deserving of this honor. Congratulations, Karin, from me and from all of your colleagues at Alerus.
Mallory Thomas. In recent months, Baker Tilly partner Mallory Thomas has been playing a major role in preparing for a pivotal event in the company's history, its merger with the accounting giant Squire Milner. Mallory is well prepared for such a task. Since rejoining the firm for a second stint, she's been promoted to partner. She enjoys her role as part of the firm's risk advisory practice, helping client companies improve their internal processes in key strategic areas, working on matters such as financial compliance, IPOs, and mergers and acquisitions. Finance and Commerce is proud to name Mallory Thomas as a top woman in finance.
Oh man, I feel like there's so much change as a type A person and thinking of planning and doing all these things that I'd normally have in place. The pandemic has really taught me how to be adaptable and having to kind of shift and change course and doing that with my clients and with my team and understanding how we need to be adaptable and changing in this environment, but also understanding the disruption can create some opportunities for us too. So being able to change and adapt and focus on things that we can control and make the best out of it. So I think the pandemic and civil unrest are kind of two separate things that have really changed the way that I'm a leader. When we think about the civil unrest and here really impacting our communities in Minneapolis, it's taking a step back and having some empathy. And for me as a leader, it's understanding that people come from different points of view and creating a dialogue within my team to have those conversations where we may have to be a little bit more vulnerable and understand that we come from different places and continuing to build that conversation around how do we make our communities better. You know, I think as a young woman, we always try to be experts in everything. We want to be perfect. There's a lot of perfectionism that goes. But I think being vulnerable and willing to learn and fail is really important. And that's something that has taught me through different experiences in life. But being able to pick things up, find different people, find different resources, learn from other people and other experiences has been really beneficial to me. And just having a continuous learning mind, like open to new ideas, open to new ways of doing things, and taking that feedback from others and your network to become a better person.
Hello, my name is Jeff DeYoung. I have the privilege of being the managing partner of the Minneapolis office of Baker Tilly. I want to give a shout out to Mallory Thomas for her recognition as a top woman in finance in the Twin City area. It has truly been an honor for me to watch Mallory's career at Baker Tilly. She is a very, very talented leader who has only just skimmed the surface of all the great achievements she's yet to realize. Congratulations, Mallory, on making top woman in finance. We couldn't be more proud of you and your achievements, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Tonight has been a special evening, spent with women who are influencing others and changing our world. Our sincere thanks for all that you do in your role as business and community leaders. We are indeed richer because of your service. I would normally ask the honorees to stand and be recognized, so if you'd like to do that, that'd be awesome. But I will ask all of you out there to please join me in acknowledging again their achievements, hard work, and dedication. Congratulations, top women of finance for 2020. It's not too late to post on social media at hashtag TWIF2020 and or shout out in the chat to the right of your screen. Many of you have already posted on Facebook and LinkedIn. Why not go ahead and reshare those posts? Thank you again to all of our sponsors, in particular event sponsor Alaris, for your support of tonight's program and your support of this year's honorees. If you would like extra copies of the Top Women in Finance magazine, please let us know. And honorees, if you would like to order a framed reprint of your magazine profile, look for an email from Lisa Arnold or just email me. At this time, we usually open the stage for photos. So rather than rush the virtual stage, snap them yourselves and post them online using the hashtag TWIF 2020. On behalf of Finance and Commerce, thank you for helping us celebrate our top women in finance for 2020. Good night, stay safe, stay healthy, and mark your calendars for November 18th, 2021 for the 20th anniversary of Top Women in Finance in person.